So it looks like many world leaders or prominent people out in the world outside of the United States and some in the United States are resigning as a result of being found in the Epstein files. And we know that Donald Trump appears in there plentiful times. So the question is, should Donald Trump resign from the Oval Office? Is he trustworthy enough? And maybe not so much not trustworthy enough, but given the scale of the scandal, and given that all these other leaders in the world are looking into the Epstein files, and there's those who kept close contact with him, even though they knew that he was a registered pedophile and he was a terrible. They probably knew it better than most of us, right? Even if we heard of Jeffrey Epstein being a pedophile in 2011, 2008, the people who dealt with him on a regular basis, they knew him. They knew exactly what he was, right? They knew exactly what he was doing, because you cannot go and visit him in 5-6 different homes around the world where he lived and not see something suspicious, right? So those sometimes who claim, there may be people who claim that they did not visit Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe they had some correspondences with him. So for example, there was one university professor that he is being scrutinized or is resigning, I think it was from Harvard, where he said that he was basically told by the Harvard administration in his field to go and solicit donations from Jeffrey Epstein for research programs, so find grants. And so he basically spent few months chatting with him back and forth, and he claims that was the only interaction he had. There's a prominent lawyer from Goldman Sachs that just announced yesterday that she's stepping down because she was found in the files exchanging emails with Epstein with hugs and kisses, right? Attached to it. Every email ended with hugs and kisses. And so, again, it was all after the time that everyone knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a registered sex offender. If you look through the files, and I spent a little bit of time looking through the files, you'll see that even when Jeffrey Epstein was traveling around to different states, he had to check in with the police department wherever he was at, and he had to register as a sex offender that was there. That's how bad of a sex offender he was, that he had to check in with every single wherever he went. He had to check in the United States. He had to check in with that particular police department, and he had to register himself and the duration he was going to be there, so that they kept their tabs on him. So there's so many prominent people that hung out with him that knew that he was a pedophile. And I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna defend Bill Clinton over here, because he knew what he was. I'm sure he knew. Bill Clinton's no saint, right? So if he's gonna go down, let him go down. I don't care. There's some scant emails with Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, the new $400 billion wealth guy. He's in the files. I saw his name in the files once or twice. He was mentioned in the passing. There was an email to Jeffrey Epstein from someone saying that, Ellison is buying an island. I think he's trying to compete with you. I think he's, he saw what you're doing, he's trying to compete with you. So I don't know whether they had any connections, but there was a Larry Ellison, that worked with, apparently Jeffrey Epstein is listed somewhere in the Oracle Foundation as somebody. I don't remember the title, but I saw that today. So, yeah. So there's the connection there. So, anyway. Let's see, the whole damn cabinet should be done. Yeah, well, at least, Lutnick, right? Lutnick is I'm just reading comments here, but Lutnick is definitely in there, and Lutnick has been. There is a file on Lutnick from FBI that profiles Lutnick, Howard Lutnick, our current secretary of was it Commerce, right? Our current secretary of Commerce. He's being profiled as a Ponzi scheme organizer who purchased a home from Jeffrey Epstein for $10 in Manhattan. $10. So we're talking about scam on top of a scam, right? So yeah, there's quite few individuals in the administration that appear on the Epstein list, and this is exactly why, at least in my opinion, is why the Epstein files were withheld as long as they were withheld, and only half of them were released so far. Right? We continuously forget that there's 3 million more files. 3 million more files yet to be released, and these 3 million files, and no doubt, will contain a lot more names, or they will contain a lot more ties to these individuals that are being now accused and implicated with Jeffrey Epstein. So, absolutely. And Jeffrey Epstein had there are transcripts of text messages between some of these people and Epstein. So, if they were in their phone and they were just like, hey, there was some sultan, right? I forgot his name. I'm not good with remembering all these names, but there was a sultan. He was the most prominent figure from the Middle East that was implicated with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein ordered 30 23andMe genetic kits for the sultan and delivered to him, right? Which in itself is nothing bad, right? He's just delivering genetic kits so that, I don't know, so the sultan can run his genetic tree or whatever that he wants to do. But the fact that he had him in his phone and they were like buddies, and this is all the way up to 2017. So the Sultan, the message I saw was from 2017. So Sultan, and not only said 2017, there were a few messages from 2019 where they were supposed to meet up before Epstein was arrested. And they were supposed to meet up in either Virgin Islands or in Manhattan, one of the two. So the Sultan from the Middle East, he just resigned as well. He was the CEO of the largest company that was providing parts and logistics in the Middle East. He just resigned also because he's been implicated in the files, because his name is all over there. It's actually mentioned 9,000 times. If you've never been Sultan to the Epstein files, it's mentioned 9,000 times. So 9,000 results. So that doesn't mean that it's mentioned 9,000 times. His name probably appears more than 9,000 times, but there's 9,000 files that have his name in it. So, yep. And it seems that, still way too many people think that Trump should stay in office. I personally think he should resign, because he is in the files just as much as anybody else, and there's even photos of him, and there's other accusatory court filings about him. So I think you do the best the best thing for the country, for everyone, and including that is for MAGA, is for Donald Trump to resign. Because what's going to happen is, once the rest of the files come out and once everything gets connected, at this moment he can just resign and maybe he'll be left alone, right? Probably not. But if he continues on this path, he's going to go down in history as the worst person in the history. Because even if he didn't rape one person, he knew exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was doing all along, all these years, and never, not one time, reported that. Not one time. Being a prominent, influential person, he never took his time to report Jeffrey Epstein to the authorities. Not one time. He supposedly made that phone call to Palm Beach County Sheriff over here. I'm in Palm Beach County right now. And supposedly complained about Jeffrey Epstein, but this was already after the fact that he was caught. So he tried to look good because he wanted to make sure that Epstein doesn't spill beans on him, I guess. And likewise, all these other people that were hanging out with Epstein, all these prominent people that stood by him, even though he was accused of trafficking more than 1,200 people, more than 1,200 young girls. That's mind-boggling. And there's no one arrested. No one's arrested because there's 1,200 children that were smuggled, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and no one else got arrested this whole entire time. Right? And maybe you can say, yeah, maybe they were investigating all this time, but you know what? The previous administration should have got on it a little bit faster. I think Biden's administration, and again, Biden's administration, the Attorney General there, the Attorney General should have jumped in and started investigating hardcore, should have allocated all the resources, because this is the case of the century. But no. Let's see. Good morning, teacher. Please, I'm going to draw you because I'm from Colombia. My dad's from Puerto Rico. You can draw me. That's fine. Actually, my cousin was in Colombia over the weekend. Over the weekend, he flew into. Oh my God, where did he flew into? He was in Colombia for 3 or 4 days, and he just came back. So he showed me some nice pictures. The weather was warm, but it was cloudy the entire time he was there. So, but anyway, hello, Colombia. My mom's Puerto Rico. Let's see. Hello there. Sorry, I kept ranting. He does not need to resign, but impeached. Well, I mean, yes, impeachment is one way to do it. Impeachment is it takes a lot more effort to impeach than for him to resign. And, well, impeachment is one. 2 is removal. So if we go that route of impeachment and removal, the House is probably ready to do that. But I don't think the senators are yet. Although the Senate majority leader assume he's getting mad at Trump because Trump keeps talking about nationalizing elections, which again, it's a violation of the Constitution. So the Constitution states that each state has the time, date, and the manner in which the elections will be held. So that's another thing. If not the Epstein files, it's just this complete disrespect for the Constitution and continuous efforts to bypass the Constitution, to go around the Constitution, just to basically tear the Constitution down. Right? If you forego everything else, look at what he's doing in terms of Constitution. And I'm glad that the Senate just decided to indict Pete Hegseth, or at least investigate for possible war crimes and possible murder, because he's been authorizing all these boat attacks in the Caribbean Sea. So, yeah. What do you mean, moron? What do I mean? Are you calling me moron? All right, whatever. And hello, Martins. I can't really read very well from here. I don't have my reading glasses. I apologize. I don't need them for driving, but I need them for reading. So, but Elsa something. Let's see. AKA Big Worm. Hello, AKA Big Worm. Let's see. But anyway, let's see, the voting status right now. 57% people that voted. That's a small poll here. Was it 30, 50, 37, 57? I don't know. But 57% of people say yes, and then 43% said no. We all get the yes side why we think he should resign, but if you're saying no, tell me why do you think he should? Write in a comment, like calling me. Why do you think that he shouldn't follow what all the other prominent people that were caught doing this did and resign? Why do you think that he should continue to stay in power with all these allegations and I mean a mountain of allegations? Don't you think while on your phone? I'm not on my phone. I am driving. Phone is sitting on my next to my water cup, so I'm not actually driving. I can drive. I'm driving for Jesus Christ 40 years almost. So yeah, I can drive. But anyway, if you think that Donald Trump shouldn't resign, just throw in a comment and let us know what your justification is for keeping him in office. Because as you can see now, majority of people think that he should resign. So you're in the minority at the moment. His approval rating for just about everything is tanking, right? The only people who are actually are still think that he's doing a good job are about half of the Republicans. Even half of the Republicans are no longer satisfied with the job he's doing right now as a president. His foreign policy is tanking. His handling of domestic policy is also tanking. So right now, the latest poll is about 50% of Republicans think that he's bad. Overall, when you put in the Democrats and Independents, he's approval rating. At the moment, it's about 32% approval rating in how he handles foreign business affairs. So I think that is terrible for president. I think it's the lowest rating ever out of anybody. And then, of course, you can say it's fake news, whatever, liberal media, this and that. But I think that poll after poll shows that he is not doing so well in terms of popular opinion around the country. So, and all these polls are just nothing but opinion. But opinions do win elections at some point. So, going into the midterms in November, I think the simple fact that at least 37 Republicans in both the House and the Senate decided they're not going to run is a pretty good tell that the Republican Party is about to lose the House and the Senate, and he's not helping them. He is. There's several Republicans that are calling on him to release all the files, to open an investigation. They're asking, why isn't Pamela Bondi arresting anyone from the Epstein files, right? Because Pamela Bondi, essentially, in her little circus show on when she was last Tuesday or Wednesday was, she basically, without saying it, she basically said that she is the personal and private lawyer for Donald J. Trump, right? She had a chance to. There were victims in the gallery, right, at the hearing. There were victims there, and she had an opportunity to at least stand up, turn around, acknowledge them, and say, "I'm going to try to get these people that did bad things to you." And what did she do? She talked about the stock market. She decided that talking about the stock market is the answer to questions like, would you apologize to these people, or would you reassure them that you're doing everything you can to find those that harmed you? And her answer was, no, the stock market's doing good. So, you don't have to take my word for it. Go back and watch that thing. It was 5.5 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched excerpts from it because there's just no point in watching the whole thing. But there was so many key moments where Pam Bondi essentially just defended Donald J. Trump as the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm pretty sure a lot of MAGA has that opinion of him, that somehow they think that this guy is the greatest greatest thing in the world. I cannot understand. Like, I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but that guy sounds like he's having a stroke every time he comes out and there's no teleprompter. Like he can't pronounce acetaminophen. Like, how do you not? You go out there to do they put you on the next by the podium. They ask you to tell us why do you think Tylenol is causing autism, or at least bring out some experts, and you can't even pronounce the generic name for Tylenol, which is acetaminophen. Like, that is the greatest guy in the world who can't pronounce simple words. Like, I don't know. And just recently, a few days, he's just having a little TIA right there on during his speech, because he just mumbled his words. I mumble sometimes, but I mean, you're the president. You're supposed to have something written down. You're supposed to have something inspirational for the country. And the only thing that he says that's inspirational for the country is calling radical left Democrats Nazis or demons or whatever he calls them all the time. That's the only inspiration. He's only inspiring his MAGA troops. That's it. Nobody else. Everybody else is laughing at him, and MAGA's laughing with him. I don't know. But back to my original point, he appears in the Epstein files many, many times. And once we get the more of the unredacted files, because apparently several lawmakers saw many files that were unredacted that they were interested in seeing, because everything was redacted by the Department of Justice. They said his name appears in more places. It's redacted from a lot more places, a lot more documents. So why are we reducting the president's name, a politician's name, a private individual that is not a victim in here, but very likely a perpetrator? Why is his name reducted from the file still? Why is there 3 more million files that haven't been released? Because that's what the law that was signed by him and voted by nearly unanimous, both House and Senate. Only one person voted against it. Why is the DOJ still violating the rules and the law? The law that clearly says, take out the names of the victims and leave all the names of all the perpetrators. Why are they doing that? If you're MAGA, can you explain that to me? Why do they take out the names of the perpetrators, of the pedophiles, of the rapists, and then they leave the names of the innocent people in the documents for everyone to see? I'm sure he's ashamed of our regime right now. I'm not going to call it a government he wants to be addicted to. And yeah, agree with you. His cabinets are... Yeah, his cabinet... So his cabinet is essentially ineffective and useless. The only person that doesn't necessarily follow anything that Trump says is that Miller Nazi guy, right? And I'm calling him Nazi because he looks like a psychopath. If you look at him, his face, his facial expressions, the way he behaves, the way he talks, he's a sociopath, psychopath, whatever term you want to apply, whatever calls to you. He essentially, no one actually does anything that without Donald Trump's permission, right? They have no say. The first thing that they do in every cabinet meeting is they will take 5 minutes to praise Donald Trump and congratulate him on being being Donald Trump, right? That's all they do. Under your leadership, under your direction, for the most effective, blah, blah, blah. And that's all they do, is they sit there and they kiss ass. And the only reason why they're kissing their ass is because, well, they like to stay in their job, right? Because now they're realizing that after this, the only thing they got left is Fox News. That's the only place they can be hired. And Fox News audiences are dying out fast. I mean, they are elderly. Even the elderly are turning away from the Fox News now. So, but most of his cabinet is stagnant, is useless. They are essentially, they're doing nothing. He tells them what to do, they just do it. And that's not a cabinet. Cabinet should be an advisory board for the president, right? Because the president is, I don't care who it is, but none of the presidents, that's not the smartest person in the room. No one ever is the smartest person in the room. The smartest person in the room is the person who has advisors who are smarter than him, that can bring out facts, that can bring out predictions and present it to him. And at the end of the day, he's got the final say so, right? Because he's the president. But at least at that point, he would have some sort of evidence to follow, to put forth whatever he wants to put forth out there. But no, he doesn't do that. He just gets on Twitter, announces, whatever his policy via Twitter or X or Truth Social, whatever the hell this thing is called these days, or whatever system he's using. And then the next day, you get Caroline Levitt, who's got to make up a secondary story why he was being racist on Truth Social. Then that all of us have misread the story, that every single person who read this out says, shit, this is racist. Like, nope, we mistook the context, right? Because somehow we don't understand what racist is, right? And then his cabinet has to go back and they have to figure out now, okay, today Trump decided he's going to put 100% tax on Vietnam. Now the cabinet has to come up with some kind of strategy to go and negotiate with Vietnam about putting 100% tariffs or taxes on them, right, on the products that come from them. So this is how they work. So there's nothing ever that gets done. The only thing that really has been in play for a long time is the Project 2025, right? That's the only thing that has played out, because about 75% of Project 2025 has been kind of put into place. And some of the judges, luckily, have stopped some of this bullshit and this nonsense. But a lot of the Project 2025 things that were in that document have been put in place already. Right? He attempted to fire the entire government unless you pledge an oath to the president. Right? He wanted to fire all the career people that have been there for 20, 30 years. We don't give a shit who the president is. They're there to do a job. And they're good at their job. Maybe most of them were good at the job. Just like with any other job, some were good, some were bad. But he wanted to fire every single person in every single department that he didn't like, that he thought it was woke. Not being even able to define what woke is. Woke for him was somebody who's black, right? That's what woke to him means. Person of color is woke. That's the only criteria, because that's the only way he understands. That's the only understanding of him. He doesn't understand that a person like me, a white, straight, heterosexual Christian guy, is woke. But anyway, I think he should be impeached. But 45% of you still think that he shouldn't. So I think he should resign. Actually, 45% of you guys still don't think he should resign. So I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not driving distracted. I'm standing on the light right now, and I only look at my phone when I'm stopped at the light. So I'm not driving distracted, and I'm driving and talking, and it's no different than having a conversation with somebody else. So, or listening to the radio and singing a song. So distraction is when you're not doing something completely different than driving, but I am paying attention to the road the entire time. So it's not a crime to drive and talk. Never is. And if you think it's crime to drive and talk, then obviously you probably you don't have a driver's license. But yeah, I think he should resign. So he's got my vote. If he wants to resign, I fully support him to resign. So absolutely. But again, But again, there's just way too many people that still are in love with Donald Trump. And unfortunately, until those people either change their mind or vanish, then or Donald Trump dies. One of the two, one of the three. I think Donald Trump is going to die before anything else happens because, I mean, after all, he is elderly, right? He's reached that age where, his life expectancy has been, once you hit 80, your life expectancy goes down, right? He's not a very healthy looking guy, even though he claims he's healthy. I mean, he seems to be going for a routine checkup every couple days. So that's not a routine. So the only way that this is going to end is when he's gone. And then there's no one that's as charismatic, right? I will give him that. He's one of the most charismatic characters out there. He does have charisma. He probably believes in what he believes. He's got that antisocial personality disorder, but he's freaking damn charismatic. If anything, he's got charisma up the wazoo, right? Very charismatic. And that's why he's able to convince so many people to follow him, even though, in honesty, like MAGA, that he doesn't give a shit about you, right? I mean, he said that so many times that he only wants your vote, and he doesn't care about you. Because if he did, then we would have better health care. We would have more education opportunities. We would have truly some kind of stimulation in the economy. But at the moment, no. Is anyone better off than they were last year this time around? Nope. Bitcoin people, that's another good one, right? I remember when he took office last year, all the cryptocurrency people were like, holy shit, we're going to go to the moon with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down 30% since he took office. 30%. So everyone who invested at Bitcoin at $107, it's like 70 now, or 107,000, I should say, per Bitcoin. It's at 70 some thousand right now for Bitcoin. So that's a huge loss if you ask me. So he created his own meme coin that tanked, right? He sold it to a bunch of people for like getting pardons, and that tanked. So I don't know. Not a good business person. Not a good person, period. I don't know. I don't know what people see in him. But I will have to say bye because I'm pulling up into a parking lot. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for voting, everyone. I appreciate your votes. I'm always curious to think what are you motivated by? And in this case, what is motivation for keeping Trump in office? I don't see one. I don't care what side you're on, but he has outlived its usefulness, and I think he should be gone. So thank you for joining me. Sorry I couldn't answer all the questions because I drive, but or maybe I can actually chat for a few minutes because I'm waiting for a train here. Trump is so bad. If George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were to return, they would cry at the damage he had done. Yeah, they'd probably arrest him, or maybe they would ask him to a duel, like they do it in the old days, right? Let's see. MAGA would eat shit sandwiches without the bread if Donald J. Trump told them to. I mean, MAGA is unable to think for themselves, so they only do what Donald Trump tells them to do. Like literally, their message is what Donald Trump says, right? Like we have no problem calling out Bill Clinton for playing with Epstein, and if there's proof that he did that, fucking let him go to jail. I don't give a shit. You should go to jail. Just with everybody else who's in those files. I don't care who it is. You know who's not in the files? Biden's not in the files. You know who else is not in the files? Obama's not in the files. Right? I don't think George Bush is in the files either. Or Ronald Reagan. Right? None of those guys are in the files. So it's not like it's Democrat or Republican. There are people who are there. People who are just bad people that are in the files. And there's some people who get caught up in the files. Like I said earlier at the very beginning of my little spiel here, there was a university professor that was told by his university superiors to go seek out Epstein to get a grant for research. It was at Harvard or Columbia. I think it was Harvard. And he communicated with him for 3 months, and then he ended the communication. I don't know whether he successfully got the grant or not. I will say one thing. Palm Beach County here, and pay attention if you're in Palm Beach County, Florida, there's a place called the Benjamin School. And it's a very, very prominent school. Benjamin School is where one of Trump's nieces is graduating from this year, or graduated. I don't know if she's graduated this year or she graduated. But anyway, it's in there's a campus in Jupiter, very close to Florida Atlantic University there. Jeffrey Epstein, I saw today a check. He donated $23,000 to that school. So I don't know if there's any connection to Benjamin School. Trump takes, Trump's nieces goes there, and Jeffrey Epstein donated money there. But just out there, just letting you guys know, you can actually search it. It's actually not very easy to find, but he did donate $23,000 at some point to the Benjamin School. So anyway, I gotta run because I see the train is on its way. So you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in with me. I will likely do this again on Monday. Sometimes I do it Wednesday evenings as well, but thank you. Subscribe if you haven't. I have a bunch of content on my commentary on what's going on in the world on my channel. If you want to see, I usually do 3-minute videos in the morning when I drive to work. I put my phone and I do a commentary on what happened the day before, a couple of days before. And it's not all politics. Sometimes it has to do with medicine and other things. But if you like, subscribe. And if not, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.